Okay, we are going to go over the video that I did with Gracie for episode 1 of What Do You See? I wanted to start this series because I find it difficult myself sometimes to figure out what a horse is doing or what they're saying, how they're acting, why they're acting the way they are, without actually looking at it in slow motion. In fact, I started this method quite some time ago when I wanted to understand conformation, um, different movements of the horse when they walk, trot, canter, gallop, and now that we have an Icelandic here, to tolt. So that was actually quite interesting because you can slow it down enough to actually see all the details that are going on, like we do in this video with Gracie. So this is the first one of many episodes. I've got tons of slow-mo video that I want to talk about. And the main goal of this is to be able to take a look at something that looks kind of innocuous, but there's more to it. And the best way to see it, as I've said, is to slow it down. So I'm in my editing program, and what we're going to do is we're going to quickly play this out um, at normal speed. And the comments on this video were fantastic, by the way. I wanted to say that for sure because a lot of you contributed. I think there's 60 people, uh, which is quite a lot in my opinion, contributed their thoughts. And any of the sort of subjective thought processes on what's going on, I don't think are wrong. I'd say it'd be very difficult to say anything's wrong because it is subjective. We're interpreting a behavior. We can't talk to her. So if you've put a comment in and you're unsure if you're right or wrong, I sometimes think, I don't know if you're right or wrong either. And that would be okay. Some of the objective things, some of the objective observations that we can make, we'll go over, and I'll give you my thoughts on what I feel she was saying at the time. And then when I watched it over later, what I thought even further that sort of qualified those thoughts. So let's full screen this and watch this through. Okay, so that's quite fast. There's I think 20. I think it's about 20 seconds or so. If we roll this back a little, we come back to about the looks like the 5-second mark, and it finishes at the 23-second mark. So 18 seconds, which is not very much in a span of time. But what I really want to point out is that this is an interaction that we had um, just in the corner, and somebody had noted, or I think a few people had noted, that I hadn't really done anything to instigate this contact other than to be there. And it's true. I'd been already taking a bunch of video, I've been around them, and so I simply was approaching. And I talk about it a lot in lessons that everything we do with a horse matters to them, so it should matter to us. And this is no different. When I walk up to her, I'm looking at everything that she's doing or any horse is doing and saying, what are you thinking? I might be thinking something, I might not be thinking something. And in this case, I was thinking nothing. I was thinking, what do you want? And she was probably thinking, what do you want? So let's just walk over this quickly in normal time, and then we'll take a look at the slow-mo as well and see. So this day was pretty innocuous. It was a nice day. The horses have been moving around a little bit, and I've been following them around as well. And Gracie had come into the corner, and I thought this might be an interesting one to get. So that's sort of the environment set up at the time. So right from the get-go, I want to say that there were flies around. So some people who had said, I'm not sure what the tail swishing is about and what she did here and there were flies. So some of this stuff is just going to be flies. It's that simple. But it is actually a very good thing to be able to predict when it's going to happen, the direction it's going to happen, because you can get whacked in the head. I know a few people One maybe just last year or so, who a lady who was standing next to her horse, and her horse just moved its head too fast and hit her, and she had a concussion. So we have to be very cautious around horses when they're flies, and you can get whipped with their tail quite a bit. I comment a lot to people. One of the most dangerous reasons to be behind a horse is literally because when that tail comes whipping around, it's no good. So we're watching her quite a bit actually look for flies and swish away at them. And so there's a shake to get rid of some of them. Now, somebody had said in the comments, I can't remember who it was, there were a lot of comments, but somebody said, is there such a thing as a horse getting a headache? And Gracie does a lot of shaking and a lot of stretching out of her neck. So I do believe that she has some tension in there. And I have thought maybe she has the equivalent of a headache, something that's uncomfortable. There is a tense spot sort of around the fourth. Well, anyways, it's in the neck. And so there's something to be said for that. There's that. It's not a bad thought process. But when she comes up here and she finishes her shake and she goes down, up. But when she comes up, her nose comes up kind of in and up. Um, and then she comes back down. And that's an interesting thing to happen. Um, I would sort of put it as my instinct kind of has her where had a shake, she's had a stretch, and she's realized she's in sort of a position that's like, I might be in danger here. And she comes all the way back up, then comes back down when she sort of sees me just simply standing there. I'm not about to try to grab her or capture her, attack her even. And so she comes back down. Um, when a horse leans in like this, but their feet aren't moving, it's a good thing. I don't. I see it as a checkout. I mean, she's very forward coming in with her nose, but she's left her feet back there. She's stretched all her neck. Her head has kind of come out like that because she has to. She can't reach me otherwise. And she's come in for a sniff or a hello. And now it's up to me to respond. I could push her away. I could drive her off. I could say you're too close or uncomfortable. But instead, I chose to pet her. So let's take a look at that. And there, in the fast one, we can't see what sort of happens here. So my first instinct was when I go to touch her on her head, she sort of has a place where she'd like to be touched, where she'd like to have my hand land or rub. And when there's flies around, she absolutely loves having the around her eyes being touched and scratched and made to feel a little bit better. So my instinct was that when I touched her, she kind of moved her head to get to the spot that she wanted touched. And then there was a fly on her shoulder there. Somebody had said she'd pulled her head away. She simply was bumping at a fly there, looking at her butt to check out where so you could see her tail swishing away. So a lot of this activity had to do with flies. And she's watching me leave, and then something caught her attention, and she's off. That's quite common for horses, especially one that is very alert and young and full of energy like Gracie. And so now we're going to take a look at the slow motion version, and then I'll give you guys some thoughts. Now this is so slow, I can definitely talk through this while we're doing it. So actually, let's have a quick stop right there. When we're with horses, we really want to pay attention to their ears and their eyes. She's pretty relaxed here, so we're not really concerned about that. But what we want to look at is she's got her left ear looking behind her. She's got her right ear looking at me. Her right eye switches between me and then something to her right. So let's walk through that a little. See how both her ear and her eye are shifting off to the right. Maybe Lena, maybe Ohana. And then some swishy swish with her tail. Here comes the shake. I think she had a fly right on her nose there. It's awfully funny to watch a horse shake their head. So right after that shake, her head goes down and her back right leg comes forward and her right front leg comes forward and then her back left leg comes forward. And here she'll set herself for the position that she's going to be in to reach me because I haven't moved at all. So she's coming in towards me. That's this. So we've got the body. We want to look at the body. I can't stress enough. Plenty of times, if we see a horse that's setting them, you can see them setting themselves compared to if they're going to continue walking. It would be very odd for her to walk towards me the way she's bent. So that's something interesting to sort of pay attention to. So I can tell she's setting herself because she's more moving straight towards either the water bucket or the fence instead of making a turn towards me, if that means anything. So a lot of people had said she looks like she has worried eyes. Um, I think when I look at it in slow motion, I think there is some worry there, uh, but possibly some sort of stiffness, maybe a little bit. It's hard to say for sure, but I think a lot of it is flies. Another thing that was mentioned was she blinks a lot, and that is a sign of relaxation. Yeah, I think horses that are, whether that means relaxation or not, I'm not totally sold on. I believe it, but I hard to prove it. But a horse that is worried or afraid will not blink. You'll find that their eyes will just be open the whole time. No blinky blink. So we do see quite a few blinks. And in slow motion, they look rather lazy, so they look very relaxed. And another thing that's actually quite interesting is horses, when they blink, they'll blink one eye, then the other. And another good comment that came through, or a few people, um, was that she wanted to look at me with her right eye. And that's a possibility, but I also think that her left eye and her right eye are sort of they're connected. And her left eye was more looking behind her to catch the flies properly. She comes in for another blink. That's a big deal. Now she's come in, her right ear is back, listening maybe for Lena, maybe for Ohana. And I can't remember who was in the top attic at that time. But neither of her ears are on me. There, I barely got a couple of ears because my hand was moving. And so another good observation was that when I touched her, her ears went back. Now, personally, I think it's a bit of a habit for her. Is she goes on guard but quickly realizes. Now remember, the horse's amygdala is very active compared to ours, and this is in slow motion. So that movement is like it's really really quick, but in slow motion we see it very slow. So I reach for her, and she noses up into my hand. Um, that's an important thing to sort of pay attention to. Uh, if she really didn't want me to touch her, she'd evade. I wouldn't even be able to touch her. There's plenty of times when you go to touch a horse on their face. So if anybody, I can't remember if anybody had said she doesn't want to be touched. I don't think so. I think most people were like she enjoys it. When a horse doesn't want to be touched on their face, 100% you will not be able to touch them on their face. They will be quick enough to evade. So a bump up into my hand um, likely was sort of indicating, can you touch somewhere else? And then I reach up more towards her, the top of her head, and she's moved in even more. And she blinks again. That's a big deal. You really do want your horses to blink. You want them, when they're with you, you want them to be relaxed enough to close their eyes, even briefly. It is just a blink, but it still indicates that they're relaxed enough to do so. Now, the closing of her eye there is most likely in anticipation that I was going to come down over top of that eye. And now she's got her attention a little behind her because there are other horses in the arena, or one other horse in the arena, and a fly on her shoulder. So I still have no ears, no eyes at this point. and I start to back away, and there I briefly get her attention. It's brief. And somebody mentioned she looks a little worried. And I thought the same thing when I watched this over. And I think in the moment too, I thought, she seems a little worried. Where are you going, or what are you doing? Um, I could use some more scratches. Something like that. And then something got her attention. And so I still have her a little bit here. I have half of an ear. And then she's off, still looking at me a little. And now she's checked out. And she's looking up the way. Still relatively relaxed. Tall head. Horses' eyesight is quite interesting. For them to be able to see far, they have to lift their head up, kind of like bifocals in Hawaii. And if they want to be able to see a long ways, they have to lift up and pick their nose up and pick their whole neck up. And then both of her ears are straight that way. And she's not paying attention to me at all. Now, if we kind of wander through this a little bit, there were some questions about whether or not she's having a conversation with Lena or she's talking to any of the other horses. I don't know about that. We got Lena shaking in the background, trying to get rid of some flies. Gracie's all in right here. Now she's looking to the left a little. So does she have her right eye on me? I believe probably. And there's definitely going to be some communication here that she's trying to say something to me. To come in so close, to poke her nose in so close, is most definitely a feeling of probably quite a bit of safety. There's a bump upwards and then down until, so she definitely wants me to touch the right side a little bit more than the left. And then I give her a quick rub. And a lot of times she'll actually move her head to, I'll put my hand still and she'll move her head and rub her own face on it, which is kind of fun. So there's a bump to the shoulder. And Lena's still shaking in the background and stuff. So I don't think that they had a lot of conversation. I don't think she was really talking to many other horses. If there was, I think there was one other horse in the arena. She might have been looking, I think it was Ruli. And I think she was just kind of looking over to see what she might be doing. And that's about it. But a lot of tail swishing for the flies. So my conclusion to all of this, and I know it's kind of getting a little bit long. I'm not even sure how many minutes we're at. My conclusion to all of this is that Gracie is, she's a bit of a rescue, and other people have kind of said she's come a long ways, and I still think that her past somewhat haunts her a little bit, I guess if you call it that, where certain movements or certain actions or certain places you touch her or go to think to touch her, she'll be quite sensitive to. Some stuff she's much better at, but some stuff I don't press very much at all and I don't bother with. But yeah, from all that slow-mo, and then if we watch it back at high speed again, or normal speed again, it's quite quick. A look to the left, a little shake, down, up, coming in, nose in a little bit, get touched. She's like, hey, and a bump upwards, and then to the left, to the right, all the way to the right again, or left again for the fly. I back off. Where are you going? And then look away. What's that over there? It's very fast. But the more time you spend with the horses, and if you slow it down and then you review it again at normal speed, you can really pick up on a lot of stuff. So that's my my impression of this. Comments were fantastic. There are a lot of really good ones in there. I have not covered them all. There are a lot of really good insight and some that made me think as well. I wonder if that's true, kind of thing. So thanks for getting involved. Thanks for contributing your comments if you did. And hopefully this has been interesting. A little bit of my own input into it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to do the next one next, but this will be its own video. So if you're watching this one first, the next one will be up soon. If you're watching the next one already, then fantastic. We'll keep on going with these. It's fun. So I'll see you guys in the next one.